You made a comment about there is a knack for making pictures and there is a knack for taking pictures.
Yep.
Explain that.
I feel like the world of photography can be broken down into those two categories. Like there are photographers who make pictures and photographers who take pictures. And it's not a hierarchical thing at all. Oh, I personally think photographers who make pictures are far superior. But seriously, it's not at all that. Like someone who is a quintessential photojournalist would be someone who takes pictures. He's not creating a situation. She's not telling people what to do. It's the observer, and it's capturing these moments, right? That's having all your little senses keenly attuned to what's going on. And that could be, in a sense, you could be a fashion photographer really paying attention to the model and what he or she is doing. There's many ways to be a taker of pictures, right? And many photographers who actually do that will put themselves in situations. It could be you're doing an advertising thing, but what you're doing is you create a situation within which you can take pictures, right? That kind of thing. So you're still responding to the moment. Other photographers actually create something out of whole cloth. They create it from scratch, right? And so they might come up with a concept, like I want to do a picture that expresses alienation or something, or gee, I'm going to take a photograph of Mel Scott. What would be the best way to show the depth of his knowledge and his experience in photography? And you kind of start bringing together all that kind of knowledge and research you maybe have done and kind of figure out the best way to take the picture. It could have to do with lights, it could have to do with where you take the picture, it could have to do with how you relate to the person, but you're actually very consciously making a photograph or constructing something, right? And that to me is the biggest difference, you know?
Okay, at this point in your career, what are you doing most, making or taking?
As a portrait photographer, because mostly what I'm doing these days are portraits, I find myself certainly making pictures, figuring out how I'm going to take them, what camera I'm going to use, why I might use a kind of a light, where. But then in that moment that you're actually with the person, you're taking the picture. Otherwise, you're indifferent to your subject, right? At that moment, you actually have all your feelers out, all your senses are working, and you actually are like looking for a moment or a look or a gesture that really is very telling, I think. You know, it's a thing actually it's interesting people talk about now because they have all this super high resolution video and stuff like that, and people are like, well, God, why not just have the video camera going and later just pluck one out? You could stop a frame, and you could, but to me it's like the challenge is different. You know what I mean? I think the notion of actually being there and kind of figuring out that one thing, that's a big part of it. So it's kind of making pictures in a general way, and then within that, taking the picture, like finding a moment.
At this stage in your career, what is the fun in photography for you?
I know this sounds corny. Literally, every time I make a picture, it's fun. To me, the joy is actually in figuring out of it is great. And technically, for me, how the picture is lit is a huge thing, because that's not technical, it's photography. They're light pictures. The only thing the film or the chip cares about is the light. It doesn't see anything else. So for me, that's how you can really shape the entire picture, and that's a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun. And I have to say, I'm still a sucker for seeing the pictures run in a magazine. I'm not jaded. You know, if I see it on my desk, I get a certain pleasure out of it. If I see it on the cover of Time, it's still exciting. It's because a zillion people will see it who couldn't care less about my work or photography. They'll just see the picture, and that's exciting. This was done not for this Olympics, but the Olympics 4 years ago of Michael Phelps. And again, for me, the whole point was he's got this amazing body. I told my wife the guy's a freak. Men don't look like that. But basically, he looks how he looks. Like, I do not have square boobs personally, but I guess it happens, you know. And yeah, that's what it is. Maybe that's it. I think it might be more than that in my case. But he's, I thought it'd be a great thing to show off his body. But there's a lot, there already, certainly around 84 and 88 in the Olympics, there was a lot of black and white work being done, and a lot of it was sort of very retro, very showing off the body as sculpture, which I think is beautiful, except to me what's cool is that he does what he does. Like, he's not a model, he's a swimmer. He's a swimmer. Yeah, that's what's cool about it. So I felt like it'd be good to shoot him in the context of a pool. That's made sense. Except we had to shoot him at Stanford, where he was training, and we couldn't get access to the pool. They wouldn't let us do, we knew ahead of time. So it was a real head scratcher, and I found out about this like 4 days before. I think I learned about it on Friday, and we had to shoot him on like Tuesday. And I got hold of a guy who was a swimmer, like a 6-foot-tall guy, didn't look like him, but still, like as a stand-in, in my studio, and I think in 20 years I shot 4 shoots in my studio. That's it. I would always use it as like a laboratory to kind of figure out stuff and then go out on the road with it. Right? But in this case, I was trying to figure out what to do, and the backdrop there is actually a painted background, and he put it out of focus and it looks like water. Mm-hmm. And again, he's lit so that it looks like it's pool light in a sense, that blue light like it's coming from the water. Like I like the light because it has a reason to be. Mm-hmm. You know, to me the light, there's 2 kinds of light. There's light that just looks cool because you like it, doesn't have to be justified. But then the other kind of light, which there's most of, is lighting that emulates what natural light is, what an available light situation would be. And that's a lot of what I do, and this would be an example of that. Like it has a reason to be lit like that, okay. Right? And so we figured it out and packaged it all up, took it out to Stanford, rented a photographer's studio, set up the whole thing exactly the way we did it in New York, literally tape measurements of everything, and that was the picture. And it's kind of thing, he walked in, and it just looked weird to him because nothing looks like what it is, and I showed him a big Polaroid. Those are the days when we had Polaroids before digital, and he was really surprised because it is the magic of photography. You know, it's one of those things where just you would never have guessed it. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it got across, and you see what an incredible athlete he is, you see what an incredible body he has, but it's in the context of a swimmer.
That's fine. Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what I like about it. Some jobs, you need a million cases of equipment and really huge lights that are really bright. Sometimes you need just like the littlest quiet thing that you can almost put in your pocket. And sometimes you want a camera that you put over your head that's big and clunky. It really varies. So for me, I make all those decisions based on what the assignment is, who the person is. It's not like, you know, I shoot blue, so you're going to get blue today, or I kind of feel like using a big camera, so you're going to get the big camera. It's really a matter of like, what's going to work best for this? That's a reason. Another good reason to use some piece of equipment is if it makes you happy. Like if using it's going to make you excited to take a picture, that's a good enough reason right there. It doesn't have to have any other reason, you know? So what I brought with here is kind of, is quite literally what I just brought on a job 2 weeks ago. Just. And I've been trying to work lately in a very, very self-sufficient, independent, low-impact way. So this is a little case that fits under your seat on the airplane. And what's in it is pretty unimpressive, I have to say. All I have in here is a laptop, okay, which I guess I could talk about this. For me, it's like having a darkroom, but just far more sophisticated darkroom. Mm-hmm. I think if Ansel Adams were alive today, he'd be all over this. Mm-hmm. It's such a level of control. So that's really all I use it for, and I don't need a lot to do it. You know, it's really quite simple. So that's the laptop. Okay. And I bring it on the shoot. Just, you can connect a camera to a laptop to see it right away when the picture's taken. That's the last thing I want, personally, because then everybody comes over and they want to see it. And people say, oh, can I see it? And it's like, no. Mm-hmm. Especially if I'm shooting, you know, a famous person or something.
Especially
oh, can I
the
see
subject.
It? Yeah.
Never
oh, do you
show
want
it
to
to
see
them.
It? Well, first of all, their face is backwards, so you're sunk right there. You know, that's not what they see in the mirror. Like their face is hanging the wrong way, everything's backwards. So I don't actually shoot with this. I just shoot just with the little card that's in the camera and that's it. But this is so I can download the stuff later and start working on it at the airport or in my hotel or whatever. Okay. That's that. I have 2 camera bodies, 35mm kind of camera bodies, right? And these bodies, it's hard to really appreciate this. These bodies are 5 years old and they look brand new because I take really good care of them. I don't let any dusties get in there. When I was an assistant, a big job I had every night, like when we were done and everybody else went home and was having a steak dinner, I was in the hotel with a little brush and a squeeze thing of air, and I was making sure everything was immaculate for the next day, right? Because that's like when I hire an assistant, it's like they're packing my parachute. It can't be like probably okay. You know,
it has to be okay.
Yeah, it's either good or I'm dead. It's like, ah! You know, I was like, well, I thought it looked okay. I didn't really check it, but, you know. So along those lines, I actually have 2 of the same cameras. So if one screws up, I have the other one. Always. I never would go out with one camera ever, ever, ever. You know, if I'm in the White House and something gets fried, I can't have somebody run to the camera store and rent another one. It's like, it's done. So you have to have 2. So that's that. And then on this particular job, I knew what I wanted to do was really just kind of quiet close-ups of these people's faces. And I actually only brought 2 lenses on the job, which is very new, against just this job. So one of them is a 100mm slight telephoto macro lens, so I could go very close to somebody and take a picture. It's very simple. And the other lens is the same kind of thing. It's 90mm. It's also just a very slight telephoto. But this one's unusual. It's a kind of lens I use a lot that you won't see much. I have 3 lenses like this. And what it does is it wiggles around. I don't know if you can see the front moves up and down. And it also does a side-to-side and up and down thing. And that allows you to play with how the focus goes, right? Instead of the focus just going straight down, I could cut from somebody's eyes to their chest. Or the picture of Giuliani, I was using that, and it went from him to the Empire State Building, and everything else is out of focus, and it's on an angle, right? So that's something. So I brought these 2 lenses, and that was it on that job. If I all of a sudden had to take a picture that was a wide-angle shot of their house, I'd be out of luck, right? In the Life days, I wouldn't have done that, because I needed to make sure I was ready for anything that might occur. In this particular case, the assignment was quite specific. This was all my camera stuff. I'll show you this thing. I don't, you will notice, have a light meter with me. Those days are gone. You can see it with a digital camera. You can see it right away. If you don't like it, switch it, change it. I have, this is a cable release from the old days. And I do that because, kind of like from using one of those big old cameras where you put the cloth over your head, I'll have one of these, even though it's a 35mm camera, on a tripod, and then I can just stand there and be talking to somebody and taking the picture. So I don't have to be doing this with my camera. I can actually be doing that. So I use this a lot.
What remains for you? You've had a wonderful career. You're having a wonderful career. What does the future hold?
I'm looking forward to actually earning a good living. That would be a good place to start, I think. I've had many, many, many ideas for photographic projects that I've wanted to do over the years, and I've never done one of them, through no one's fault but my own. And I just feel like I want to get to them while all my parts are still working. Seriously. I just feel like my dad passed away a year ago, and I just feel like there's no time like the present. So I feel like I want to do that. That and earning a living are a little bit like this, but we'll see. The other thing is that I feel like I want to bring everything I've learned in photography to do portraits of regular folks in a way where I use everything I've learned to just disappear and get out of the way. Instead of a picture being about how clever I was or what I got somebody to do for the camera, it was like I made a little stage for them, and then I just disappeared, and everything I learned allowed me to see them in the clearest possible way. I know that sounds kind of ambiguous, but do you know what I mean? It's like really just, like if I could just get you to be you in the clearest way where it might not be the world's most flattering picture, but you look at it and you go, wow, that's me. I'm there. Yeah, he's got it. To me, that would be the best thing I could do. That's what I would really aspire to do. And I feel like I'll do that by working in a very simple way.
Well, thank you very much for sharing with us. And please give Greg another hand, because I think he gave more than we expected.
Thank you. And thank you, Melvin. Thank you.
Yes, it was a pleasure.